Wednesday evening. I'm Chase Miller, and welcome to another edition of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, as presented to you by the Hillsboro Economic Development Corporation. We get a little flavor and a taste of the North Dakota State Volleyball Tournament, which begins tomorrow afternoon at the Fargo. We'll hear from Lisa Strand and the Thompson Tommies as we'll have that broadcast with their quarterfinal round matchup tomorrow night against Oak Grove at 7 o'clock on YourLiveEvent.com. Also joining Lisa Strand will be Medina-Pingree Buchanan, the Thunder volleyball coach, with Jacie. Also Rich Olson from Langdon, Area-Munich. The Cardinals are the #1 overall seed entering the tournament. And we'll hear from Hadley Plank on the Class A side as West Fargo Horace Hawks are making their way to a state volleyball tournament for the first time in program history. From there, getting you ready for Fertile-Beltrami's football championship match, as we'll hear from Brian Nelson, the head coach of the Falcons, also with the head coach of Hill-Beaver Creek in Rex Metzger, the head coach there as well. So we'll get a little 9-player state championship profile with Dawson Peterson. We'll have that game for you on KRJB on Saturday morning at 106.5 FM at 10 o'clock in the morning from US Bank Stadium. From there, Rob Owens of Hillsboro-Central Valley Wrestling will give us a preview on the Burros, and our senior spotlight will be with Espen Westby of West Fargo Horace, as Espen is making his way to Bismarck State College coming up in the fall for collegiate baseball. But first things first, let's get to our state volleyball preview with Lisa Strand of the Thompson Tommies. Join us from the Thompson Tommies as they make their way to the state volleyball tournament. That is Lisa Strand, the head coach here for Thompson Volleyball, the champs out of Region 2. And Lisa, obviously it's got to be a tremendous season, but let's first and foremost talk about the week that was in Grafton. You played really good teams with Park River, Fortville, Lincoln, with Mayport, CG, and Grafton. You and I chatted about a month earlier saying anybody could have came out of Region 2 with those top 5 in particular. And what did you see from your team that really, I guess, best encapsulated Thompson volleyball this season to allow you to get to state and beat someone on their home court to get to state, which is no small feat either, Lisa?
Oh, definitely. You know, it's always tough to beat a team, especially a team like Grafton, and to get to the state tournament. This year was just, you know, more of a bonus than anything, because we knew that we had the capability, but boy, we knew there were big obstacles in the way, with Grafton, with HCB, with Mayport, and with Park River. You know, there's just any one of them, like I said, whoever came to play. And we were fortunate that our girls came out to play and did all the things that they needed to do. They brought so much energy to the court. And I really think that was the thing that tipped the scale, was the energy that we brought. And it didn't matter if we scored a point or if we lost a point, our girls were still like positive and going after it. And that was so good to see, because I think that was something that we learned through the season and all the matches that we played, is how to be resilient.
As a coach, what's this week like kind of for you as you get done with Thursday night? You wait till Friday to figure out where you're going to play. You got the Grovers, you got the final game. So the patients are going to be tested a little bit more on Thursday, waiting around till 7 o'clock here, Lisa. But what's the week like for the team, the coaches, just as you kind of get ready for that quarterfinal round matchup?
Well, it's been, you know, we took a couple days off just to, you know, heal up and rest and have some time to kind of just meet their parents again, and then go from there. We've been, you know, doing some practicing, and we have late practice tonight, which kind of works out. It just, like, it is hard to wait though. You know, you kind of start doing some scouting right away and try to think, and then we didn't see them right away to kind of talk to the girls about what we saw scouting. But it's been good. It's given the chance for the girls to watch some video too and see what they see, and then kind of ease back into a harder practice and really working on the things that we need to do to be successful, and kind of honing some skills that we already somewhat had, but we just need to clean up some things. So, you know, working on blocking, working on, you know, placement of hits, and you know, serve receive is always necessary. So it's been good to have this extra time.
Lisa, as we talked about, you know, your program's been able to make it to state 7 of the last 8 years here. Last year, you came up a little bit short, but this year with a very youthful club, you know, 2 seniors, a handful of juniors and sophomores. Just what does it mean for this year's version to make state in 2024 here, Lisa?
And this is a great accomplishment for this team. They've come so far. I mean, they will even say, you know, our first game of the season, they're kind of like, yeah. But, you know, they showed a lot of tenacity. They stayed with it. They've worked, and even when times were tough, and there were some tough times where things weren't going well, and we were always just on the cusp of kind of finding our way. And so, they never lost the faith in the team and the ability of the team and the ability of each other. And I think that's the difference maker for this crew, is that they know that they can depend on each other, and that they can work hard and it'll pay off in the long run. We spent a lot of time talking about looking through the windshield and not the rear view mirror. And I think that too just kind of set them on a path to be forward focused. And that's kind of been their way. And we've kind of had a team theme of being united, and that too has kept us united and kept us on this path that we kind of blazing for ourselves here.
And speaking of the path, looking at your roster and more importantly, your schedule this season, there's a lot of teams that you played that either made the region semis, made a region championship, or even made it to state. So how much did that competition, playing the Dickinson Trendies, the Kenmare Bowbells, the Lytton HMBs, so to speak, of the world, who were really good all season long? Some made it to state, some didn't, but had a good season here, Lisa. How did that schedule really benefit you once you got into this month of November?
Well, looking at the schedule to begin, we were kind of like, okay, well, we've got our work cut out for us. And our athletic director, Brady Schwab, did a nice job of setting this up for us, getting us to have to compete early and then compete often, because, those matches came at intervals. And so we were able to, like I said, just kind of keep on plugging away. And we always felt like when we were playing those teams that have been in the upper, part of the state, as far as the state polls, we played them pretty well and pretty close. We either went 5 or 3 with them, or we played them fairly tight, and we never really felt like we got blown out by anybody. So that kind of helped us feel like we really probably can do this once we get it together and once we figure it out. And that's what they've done. They figured it out. And this crew, I couldn't be more proud of them.
I know, talking with you ahead of the Northern Cast match over a month ago, there was 1 or 2 players that have been out with sickness or injury or stuff of that nature. So how did that help the team maybe come together and learn some different roles, play a different spot, able to see a different rotation? As much as you don't want injuries, as much as you don't want sickness as a coach, you want your team at 100% all season, Lisa. But how did those little, so to speak, up and downs, those valleys, help this team this season?
Now, those kind of things help a lot. Give somebody else an opportunity to step in and help out the team. It also, pushes those that were on the court that were kind of like not really wanting to take charge, pushes them to, kind of take charge. And I think that, it really helped us all around in the different spots that they had to fill, to come together and to know that, like I can give a little more, and I can do a little more. And with everybody doing a little more, that's how we got where we are right now, is they all picked it up and really just, and it wasn't just, their skills, but their communication and how they needed to communicate because of people in different spots and things that really made that happen. And that's just carried through since then. So you hate to see injuries, definitely, but usually injuries, really do help your team to grow.
Speaking of growing, I know this is a youthful club, as we kind of talked about a little bit, but still a couple seniors, a handful of upperclassmen that are juniors. So what is the seniors and those that have been part of the starting lineup too, those juniors, those upperclassmen, what have they provided to the club way back in August to where you are now, Lisa? How have they kind of set the tone, so to speak, as those senior leaders or those captains on the club this season?
Yeah, I mean, our kids have just, taken on that role. Our 2 seniors, they're not the typical ones that you would say, there's my leader right there. They've grown into this leadership role. I mean, they both wanted to be leaders, and they both embraced that idea of it, but they just really stepped up and became all around leaders for the team. They're just the go-to for the team. Everybody enjoys them. They have different ways of motivating. Kylie has just brought the energy like crazy, and and Jordan is the, like, just let's just go do it kind of person. And she too has, brought that energy. They just kind of both came out and played just at another level. And that leadership right there, and that being that kind of role model, has just helped the rest of the team to kind of, embrace that and kind of let loose a little bit in a sense to be able to just enjoy the game. And that's what we want them to do, of course, is have the most fun they can have. And like, we always talk about, it's most fun to win. So if we can have all that fun and win, it's a huge bonus.
Yeah, without question. Two more things from you, Lisa, before we let you go. Final year of the 2 classes. Next year, obviously, is 3 divisions for volleyball. So what does it mean to make the last Class B state volleyball tournament as we know it? Is this just a little cherry on top, knowing the history of volleyball, knowing what it takes to get to state before the Thompson Tommies and a handful of teams, your opponent in Oak Grove, making your way to Division A next season here?
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be different next year for sure. New rivalries in a sense, but still some of the old ones, as well as some of the teams in our region move up too. But it is kind of the end of an era, and we are so happy and fortunate to be able to represent our region. We've had so many good teams, like we've talked about, in our region, and to be able to go and represent our region for the last time as Thompson in Class B is just, it's quite an honor actually for us. And I just hope that we can live up to that and make it happen once we're there. And then we'll move on from there to the Class A division and see what happens. But it is really, really quite a thing we've talked about it, to be able to kind of hopefully do our best and just play our best. That's really all we want to do. And if we can do that, we've played with these teams, most of them. And so hopefully we can just bring it now and again, be representative of our region and make the rest of the teams proud that we were the ones to represent them.
And final thing, and you maybe kind of alluded to my next follow-up and last question here, Lisa, is when Thompson's playing well, what's working well from your perspective as a coach, or what do you want to see from your club once you get to that first serve on Thursday night? Then just, allow the cards to kind of hit the table, so to speak, and see what the next 3 days of volleyball brings and has in store.
Well, we really need to make our passes. If we make our passes right off serve receive, especially, our setters have really developed, and both Addie and Sella have done a great job for us this year of putting the ball where they need to. And our hitters are always ready now. We did have a time where, we'd set a ball and our hitter was like surprised it was coming. Now they're ready and they're hungry and they want the ball. And so when we have all 3 hitters ready and able to, put the ball down, that's what we hope to have happen. And that all starts at the pass. I mean, you have Kaya Hurst back there and Andy Schwab and Kylie, or like Chloe serve receives as well, to be able to do that and pass the ball well enough to just have all of our hitters available. That's what we're hoping for. And then to try to keep the other team out of system, anytime you can keep them from setting up a pass set spike, you have a little bit of an upper hand. So that's going to be our goal, as well as playing great defense. We'll, against these teams that are there at the state tournament, we're going to have to play some really great defense. So hopefully that we're prepared and ready for it and can do all those things that we need to do and just make this happen.
Lisa, as always, I very much appreciate the time. We'll see you at the Fargo Dome Thursday night here for our audio-only coverage on yourliveevent.com.
Thank you so much. And thanks for all you do for North Dakota sports and especially for volleyball right now.
That again, Lisa Strand, head coach of the Thompson Tommies on the yourliveevent.com Coaches Show.
Live, work, and play here in Hillsboro, North Dakota. The Hillsboro Economic Development Committee can assist you with information and support for business and housing. Experience Hillsboro. More at 104.
Right now, Jacie Connell joins us, and Jacie is the head coach for the Thunder of Medina-Pingree Buchanan, currently in her 12th year, and the Thunder are off to the state tournament. First time ever for the Thunder to make a state volleyball tournament, so congrats on that. And we'll talk about you and the tournament and the team and everything at the Fargo Dome this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday here shortly. But
Yep.
First, thanks again for joining us. And let's talk about the Region 3 tournament. You guys came out of a tough region again. Region 3, it seems like
Mm-hmm.
every year is very difficult. And you beat
Mm-hmm.
Linton HMB in that championship. So talk about coming out of that Region 3 tournament to advance the state.
Yeah, it has been just a complete dream to make it out of that region. It's like you said, the hardest region in the state always. So many competitive teams. And I mean, we beat Linton right away, beginning of the season, and then we had two tough losses against them. So beating them in the game where it counts the most has really been a dream come true. And our team and our communities, we're all just so excited to have this experience for our school.
Okay, so talk about the state tournament. Are you adjusting anything in practices to get ready for the state tournament starting this Thursday?
Yep. So I've been watching film on some of the teams we're possibly going to be playing. And yeah, we're just focusing on, being very aggressive on our offense, working on hitting specific spots that'll hopefully keep teams out of system, and then just really focusing on, having a great serve receive pass. That's going to be really key for us to be able to set up our big hitters. We've been blocking like crazy because that's going to be key for our defense to slow that ball down for them. And yeah, we've just been really focusing mainly on our serve receive, our blocking, and our, hitting spots. So
Are those kind of your key strengths for your team heading into the state then?
absolutely, yes. I think, focusing on getting Bryn and Maddie set up when we can, because they're our big offensive players. And, starting the season, we really struggled on having consistent serves. We had a lot of serving errors. So we've been really focusing on just making sure we get every serve in, because I just can't stand missed serves. So yeah, just eliminating our errors and just playing our game and staying confident are huge keys for our success, I feel.
So how do you plan to keep the team calm, yourself calm, the
Mm-hmm.
nerves heading to the Fargo Dome for the first time ever?
Yeah.
Like how do you overcome that?
You know, um, making it through what we did last week and watching my team, how they just played so calm throughout the whole game, no matter, what the score. If Linton went on runs, those girls just stayed determined and confident. Our timeouts were all about, we're going to get that next point, and it's okay that that happened. Let's just move on. And just having that experience right there, I think is really going to help my team, moving forward into the state tournament.
What's it been like with the kids, the players and at practice and at school? Like, what is
Mhm.
everybody saying?
Oh my gosh, it's just been so fun for them. Like, what an experience for them to have. They all are like, we feel like celebrities now. Like, this is amazing. And we have people coming up to us that we don't know, congratulating us. And I was like, girls, get used to it. You're just making history at our school. You've just made everybody so proud. And I'm just telling them, like, enjoy every moment, because this is truly something probably will only experience once in your life. Hopefully, maybe another time. But yeah, just enjoy it. It's just been quite a ride already.
Any team traditions you'll be emphasizing before the state tournament here?
Well, I don't know if this is really a tradition, but close to Halloween, we painted pumpkins, and we've been carrying our, pink pumpkin of our coaches around with us, and we feel like that's a good luck charm, and we're really hoping it makes it through to be able to join us for the state tournament.
I seen that pumpkin. I was wondering
Yes.
about that.
Oh, it's brought us good luck, and I
Yeah.
was like, that pumpkin better make it through state, because it's coming with us. Uh,
All righty, sounds good. Goals for MPB at state.
mhm. So, it's so huge to make it past that first round of state. So that's obviously a huge goal. But you know what? Our goal is to bring home a state title. And I just think if we played like we did last week, and, we'll be ready for these teams, I just really believe this team could bring home a state title. And they do as well. So that is our goal.
Yeah, I was just kind of going through the history of the state championships at the state volleyball
Mhm.
tournament. I think 9 out of the last 11 years, a Region 3 team has been to the state championship.
Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
know. It's just
Yep.
crazy. And, us taking down the number one team in the state all season long, I just think that really our chances are good to get into that state title game for sure.
So this Thursday at the Fargo Dome, you play at 3 o'clock against Central McLean in the quarterfinals. That you've never played them this year, correct?
Correct. No, but I've been watching lots of film on them this week. And yeah, they have some very consistent hitters. They place the ball well, they serve well. Yeah, they're a really good all around team. So I've been just really studying how we need to adjust a little bit and, what spots are open for us to hit. And yeah, we'll be ready to go.
One more before we let you go here. Talk about the seedings and everything. I think Langdon got 1, South Prairie 2, MPB 3.
Yep.
So how do you think the seedings went?
I mean, I think we got a great draw in the tournament. I'm very happy with where we're at. And we played Langdon at the Northern Cast tournament first round, and we lost to them both sets, but they were super close. So, but they've had a great season. I know South Prairie Max has had an amazing season. So I was very happy with the 3 seed for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much for your time, and
All
good
right.
luck at the state volleyball tournament this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the Fargo Dome.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much.
You bet. Yep. Have a good day.
You too.
Treat yourself to a great career at American Crystal Sugar Company. Team up with quality people making quality products. Full-time and year-round in a stable business. With great pay and benefits including time off available from day one. American Crystal Sugar Company invests in you to promote your continued growth and career advancement. Grow your career doing your best work within the world's best beet sugar company. Apply online today at AmericanCrystalCareers.com.
Don't be fooled by that beat-up old cap. Its faded crown represents the tireless work of America's farmers and ranchers. Its sturdy brim, their dedication to providing our nation with a safe, affordable food source. So we'd like to tip our hat to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
Visit with Ryan Opdahl, your local Farmers Union Insurance agent in Hillsboro.
Growers, prepare your fields and yields against the wet conditions for 2025 and beyond with a drain tile project from Chad's Excavating out of Mayville. Drain tiling will improve and increase your yields and land values for years to come. Chad's Excavating provides free, detailed estimates, and with over 40 years of combined success, they provide professional installation and service. Call Chad today to prepare for your future and any questions that you might have. That's Chad's Excavating out of Mayville, helping farmers grow.
On the Your Live Event Coaches Show this week, we are chatting with state volleyball bound head girls volleyball coach for Langdon Area-Munich, Rich Olson. And Rich, I got to say, your ladies are probably playing their best volleyball of the season at just the right time with 14 straight wins, sweeping the Region 4 tournament.
Well, that's always the hope as a head coach. You want to be playing your best at the end of the season when it matters the most. And hopefully you're peaking at the right time, but we just have a wonderful bunch of kids to work with, and they've worked very hard through the summer and into the season, and we feel like we've improved a lot this season, and we're very excited to be going to the state tournament.
And looking at your team, a 30-4 team, top seed. Without looking at your roster, fans might think, oh, they must have a lot of seniors and juniors, a lot of experienced talent, but not necessarily the case with your team. But you do have 5 sophomores and above. The rest of your team, freshmen, 8th graders, and a 7th grader on the varsity roster as well. Got to be pretty exciting to see this amount of talent and skill in such a young group.
Well, this year we had probably the least amount, I think, since I've been here, and I've been here over 25 years, the least amount of high school girls go out for volleyball. We just happen to be going through a stretch right now where we don't have as many girls in some of these classes, and our numbers are down in high school. That's why we ended up bringing up some of the junior high girls. But we have great senior leadership with Meredith Rumfo and Peyton Hall, and just a mixture of youth and experience, and it's worked out well for us this year.
Kind of give me an insight here. We haven't really been able to see your team much on your live event. Kind of give us an insight to a little bit more of your team's identity and how you hope to attack the state tournament.
Well, we hope to just keep doing the same things we've been doing all year and just play with confidence. everybody on the floor has kind of had the mentality that their job is to bring energy to their teammates, put the focus on your teammates as you're playing the game. And we feel like we've evolved from a team that kind of relied on their outside hitters to do a lot of work for us in terminating at the beginning of the year, to a team that now we have, 4 or 5 hitters we can go to at any time while we're playing the game. We're well-rounded. We've got Meredith Rumfo, a senior at the outside, along with Hillary Haven, an 8th grader at the outside hitter position. So, a senior and an 8th grader, and both of them do an outstanding job out there. Peyton Hall, a senior, is our setter, and just wonderful job as our setter this year, over 1,000 assists this season alone. And just couldn't be more proud of the senior leadership we've gotten from Meredith and Peyton. It's really kind of set the tone for us every day in practice. And then Aubrey Bating, one of our middles, and Avery Lorenz, our other middle. Now you've got a sophomore and an 8th grader in the middle, and they've done a great job improving all season long. Both of them playing middle for the first time this season. And then on the right side, Kemi Morstead, another freshman who's done a great job opposite of Peyton Hall, has some setting experience and just done a wonderful job on the right side for us, putting up big block numbers and also becoming a weapon towards the end of the season. And then, we've got a DS in Rayleigh Ratzlaff that has been serving tough and digging for us all season long. We bring in another Hall girl, Emma Hall, that comes in and serves for us. So, and then we've got some girls on the bench that are ready to go if we need them. That's our team.
I think the old adage goes, a lot of coaches will say, throw out the rankings, throw out the records. It's a state tournament. You have 8 teams and anybody can win. And I think some years people believe that. And I think other years, maybe like this year, they really do believe that. And the fact that really, I think you throw out the seedings and anybody can win the state tournament.
Oh, there's no doubt. We've been to a few state tournaments. They've been seeding state tournaments for over 10 years, I think now. And this was probably the hardest for me. It was the hardest one to seed. I had to really, I think I texted 8 to 10 coaches across the state, just asking their opinion on, this team or that team. We hadn't seen Central McLean. We haven't really seen Oak Grove, although they were at a tournament we were at, but we didn't really see them play. And we haven't really seen Kenmure much this year. So, but we know their programs and that they have a good reputation. I just wanted to find out more. It was tough to seed them this year. I'm a little surprised we're the number 1 seed, but it is what it is. It doesn't really matter. Our girls really don't care. You just have to take it one opponent at a time. And there's been years where the number 1 seed was clearly the number 1 seed. I think this year it's very evenly matched across the board.
Let's talk about your opponent in the quarterfinals coming up on Thursday in Dickinson Trinity, a team you've seen a couple of times this year. And in fact, they were the last team to deal your Cardinals a loss this season.
Well, yeah, Brianna Sisson does a great job there. As old as I am, I remember coaching against her when she was at Trinity and was an outstanding player for them. We played them in the state championship game a few years back, and she just does a great job. She has a great program there at Trinity. They lost a lot. They're kind of like us. We lost a couple first-team All-Staters. They lost a couple first-team All-Staters last year, I believe, also. And we both getting back to the state tournament. I think a lot of people were surprised that we're both there, but definitely a well-coached team. They got a great hitter on the outside in Kovash that gets a lot of swings for them. A good, just a great setter. I'm just going to go by numbers because I'm not going to remember all their names, but number 9, their setter, she's just all over the floor making plays. Just one of those teams. I think the strength of their team is they can go anywhere to try and get a kill. They can work the ball around. They use the right pin. They have their middles flying in there on quicks, and then their outside hitters can bring some heat. So just a tough team to deal with. Good libero to go along with it. I remember we were watching film here today and really impressed with their libero number 1. So it'll be a tough opponent for sure. We're looking forward to the challenge.
As far as we know, this will be the last Class B state tournament, at least as we know it, before moving to the 3-class system next year. You mentioned yourself, you've been around the block more than a few times and at a few state tournaments. Where does this one compare with the others?
Well, it's fun to be, if we're going B next year. If this is the last year of just 2 classes, it's kind of neat to to get to the state tournament in maybe the last year of 2 classes. And we're we're just excited to be there. It's hard to compare it to some of the others. I think I'm really proud of this team, because if you go back to the summer months when we were going to camps and doing things to try and get better at volleyball to where we are now, I've seen so much improvement. I really truly believe we're one of the most improved teams in the state. When you go back, our first tournament was Northern Cass, and you go into those tournaments early on and you find things you need to improve on, and you hope that you can come back and correct some of those things. And this year's team has done a great job just grinding it out every day. And the work ethic we have is outstanding. And I think that's one thing that stands out to me about this year's team as we head off to state.
Rich, again, state bound, number 1 seed, champions of Region 4. Anything else you want to mention here on the Coaches Show?
Not really. Just thanks for having me on the show. And like I said, we're excited to represent Region 4 at state this year.
Again, the Langdon Area-Munich. My apologies on that. I'm probably going to do that for the next 5 years thereafter. But Langdon Area-Munich, the number 1 seed for the state girls Class B volleyball tournament here starting on Thursday. They take on Dickinson Trinity, 3rd game of the day. And we'll see how it goes at the end. Rich Olson, head coach, joining us on the Coaches Show. Rich, thanks for the time. Best of luck this week.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Joining us now from the West Fargo Horace Hawks, the head coach for volleyball here with Hadley Plank, as they are making their way to a state tournament for the first time in program history. And for you, Hadley, just take us through the emotions of the EDC tournament, just going back through the last couple of years. 2022, 13-18, 2023, 19-14, and this year you found yourself over a 20-win season so far on the year, 24-10, but most importantly, got past that quarterfinal, put yourself in a really good position in the semis. You knocked down Shanley, then you played a whale of a match with West Fargo Cheyenne. That first setter was obviously a classic, going to that 30-28 in the championship. But what did you see from your team that you liked most during that past week of the EDC volleyball tournament here, Hadley?
Yeah, I think something as a coaching staff, we talked to them about like going practice by practice, game by game. So not thinking about the future, just thinking about like what can we do to get better in this moment? How can we win our next game? And then advancing from game to game from there.
I know the championship match, that 30-28, that was a dogfight back and forth. In the second set, there were a bunch of points that were so close that maybe going your way, it maybe changes the complexion. But what did you see from your team against an opponent that you're very familiar with in Cheyenne, that you just kind of learned about and talked about as you get ready for Bismarck Legacy here coming up on Thursday night?
Yeah, I think we stuck to the game plan the first set. The girls competed. There was some resilience within that. Like playing Cheyenne, we're in the same district school with the Cheyenne girls until Horace was built, and so it's kind of an emotional roller coaster when we play them. But yeah, I thought they battled and they stuck as a team, and yeah, I'm excited to see what we're gonna do this weekend.
What's the one thing that you're just most looking forward to as a coach? You know, win, lose, or draw, barring what happens from Thursday to Saturday, as we alluded to earlier, first time that this team has made themselves, to the final weekend of volleyball in North Dakota. So what are you most looking for from this group of girls and from this team once you get to that Fargo Dome? And got to wait around a little bit to get the Thursday night, but what are you most looking forward to, Hadley?
Yeah, I think a few of these girls, since we're so young, haven't got to experience state in any sport, and some of them have. And so feeling that state feel, I look back at my high school career and I'm like, oh, what were some of the best memories that I had? And some of the best memories were obviously winning state, but obviously off the court as well. And so creating that culture for them and creating those memories for them, I'm really excited for.
Take us through the full circle journey right now to have a varsity program. You build it from scratch, essentially, right, with the co-op from Cheyenne, as you allude to, with some of those girls being part together as the school district, and then all of a sudden now you're becoming rivals and facing off against each other. But just take us through the last 3 to 4 years of this team going from freshman to JV to finally having a varsity program to now, being in it here, Hadley, pretty much for 4 or 5 years. What has this journey been like?
Yeah, I think our first year, one of our goals was to make EDC. And, I alluded to that a week and a half ago when we were talking about EDC, what our lineup's going to look like, what our journey to state could look like, and whether we lose or we win. And, I talked to them, I'm like, 3 years ago, majority of you were in this room when we talked about playing in the EDC playing game. And we did that last year again. And now this year, we didn't have to do that. And it's like, we're having some big wins. And seeing the progression that we've challenged them in the gym has been really fun to see in the game.
Let's go through some of the players here. I know we could talk about anybody in the lineup that's, been in there in the seniors and the upperclassmen, but Alyssa Sommerfeld just seemed like in that libero spot, able to keep the ball up, earn some really nice digs and performances throughout the course of the season, but in the EDC tournament as well with some powerful hitters on the opposite side of the net. What just have you seen from Alyssa in that back row consistently for the course of the season here?
Yeah, I think like you said in the question, she's a constant. There's consistency within her at all times. Players feel comfortable playing next to her, whether it's passing or digging. She might not be the most vocal person or the most, looking like she's the most competitive, but she has an inner competitiveness to her, but she kind of has this calm presence that the girls really enjoy.
I know we're able to see a couple other players, but a couple of them are twins in the the Coulter's sisters. They're able to come through both at that setter spot, back row with McKenna as well with Harper. What did you just kind of see from them in the last month of the course of the season to have their opportunity to get a little bit into the lineup a little bit more here, Hadley, and have that opportunity to play on such a big stage like the EDC tournament?
Yeah, so Harper is my setter. She, she's been in our lineup since she was in my lineup last year, and she's had some experience. She's a tall setter. She does great things. And we kind of threw McKenna in the ringer. About a month ago, we were like, hey, we would like you to join the varsity roster. We'd like you to do, try right side, try outside, and we kind of put her in positions in practice to see how she did. And she's taken it and ran, and I'm so proud of her. And it's been fun to see her successes, and she's always wanting to be challenged in the gym. Both of them are, Harper and McKenna. And so they're always ready to get better and be competitive. And yeah, it's fun to have the twins in the lineup.
You mentioned a little bit, Hadley, here with just the state experience. There was a couple of girls with Jaden Hale and Jordan Christofferson that were part of that state girls basketball team that was able to make it to Bismarck last year. How much have you talked to them, or have they had conversations with other players that maybe haven't been to a state tournament and understanding what a week like this kind of all entails? As much as you want to keep practicing the main thing and you're really getting ready for Thursday, but how much is like the build up to Thursday night? How much have you had that conversation with them, or have they kind of, so to speak, had that conversation with themselves as, players on the court so far?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. In August, we had a team meeting, and, we were talking about our individual goals, team goals, coaches' goals, all of those things. And Jordan and Jaden both had said, like, hey guys, we went to state in basketball last year. Like, we know what it takes, and like, we know we can get there, and we have to get there. And they've done every day they step into practice. They've shown that mentality, and it's been really fun for the other girls. Not that they didn't have buy-in, but to have buy-in and, have that urgency to reach those goals.
How fun is it to see Horace Hawks athletics? Obviously, as we alluded to, girls basketball, Coach McMahon with football last week, on a Friday night, able to win a state championship at the Dome, able to come out and support the girls, throughout the week and see them perform in the EDC championship. What's cooking, I guess, in the stove or in the oven, so to speak, Hadley, with Hawks athletics?
I think if you would have asked McMahon and I 2-3 years ago, like, oh, what are your goals? They were probably near the same of each other, like go to EDC, make to state semis. And the fact that, we're hitting our goals now. And like, there were some times 2-3 years ago that I was like, oh, this is hard. You feel like you're walking through the mud. And to see these successes now, and like, this is what we've been waiting for, and this is what we've worked so hard for and put our sweat and tears and minds into this. Like, it's really fun to see, everybody loves to celebrate, but you have to think back, like 3 years ago, this was 3 years in the making for this moment.
Take us through the coaching staff too. I know at times we talk about there's glue players on the staff, and some only get to play back row. Some come in at certain particular times, maybe serve, but same thing with the coaching staff. You obviously have to have good assistance from JV to C squad to freshmen to continue to build the program up here, Hadley. So how I guess you could say rewarding was it, not from your perspective, but just from the entire coaches staff perspective, who's been with you on this journey the last couple of years, to see how this has progressed. When all of a sudden you beat Shanley on Thursday night, you still, you still had a game left to play in the EDC tournament, but understanding that you made it to state, what was that kind of, huddle, so to speak, after the locker room just between the coaches like?
Yeah, I think, there were some tears, and we were so excited after that Shanley game. And something that my coaching staff, I don't know whether this is a good or bad thing, we never feel like we're satisfied. Okay. So our mentality is that we're winning a state championship. And so that game brought us to state, but then we were thinking like, okay, next practice, how do we win state now? Or how do we beat Cheyenne? And so, we celebrated and we acknowledged the positives of that moment. And, to be honest, we've had those moments all season. Every about other week, we look at each other like, we just won. Like, that was one of our coaching goals, is to beat that team that we've never even taken a set from. And so this season's just been one of my favorites. And, there's been high and low of lows, but, that was probably one of my highest ones, was beating Shanley, solidifying that we were going to state, and just seeing the girls be so positive, and they were crying and so excited, and to see that emotion from them, and to acknowledge, to tell them the next day, like, that is what hard work is for. That's why we do those things. That's why when we do those drills that you might not like, so you can feel that feeling.
What's going to be a challenge against Bismarck Legacy outside the obvious? There's going to be a lot of Vegas gold and black in the stands between both teams on either side. And as we alluded to, you're going to have that anticipation all day brewing until you finally get to that opening serve roughly at 7:00. But I know you played them way back, Labor Day weekend in that crossover classic in Bismarck. But what's going to be just a challenge from your perspective, whether it's on your side of the net or their side of the net, Hadley, once you get to that opening serve?
When you go to state, whether it's in your home, whether it's in your town that your high school's in or not, whether you got to travel, I think like staying within your team and keeping the right mindset and not letting the outside distractions, because there are, whether it's interviews, whether it's new crowd, whether it's, teams you haven't necessarily seen before. And I think just committing to the team and staying on the bus and staying we're all going in the same direction. And so that's something that we've been focusing on.
I always like to ask coaches this question. I asked Harvey this question for football. You're playing in front of 18,000 seats and it's indoors for the first time compared to playing in 30-degree weather. Well, for volleyball, you're used to playing indoors, but now you don't have to worry about the volleyball scraping the ceiling. The court of play, everything really is hustling after that pass. Maybe if it's a little off or a dig that goes to the side, Hadley. So what's the conversation from a volleyball player perspective that's going to be different than playing in your home gym or playing at West Fargo Cheyenne in the EDC championship, outside the obvious where it's a state tournament, once you get to Thursday night?
Yeah, I think I tell them, like, feel all the feelings, everything that you're feeling, whether it's nervous, excitement, adrenaline, like, let you utilize those feelings in the right direction. And so, we have our serve and pass on Thursday morning, so we're going to utilize that 20 minutes and get them comfortable with the court within that amount of time. But just keeping your energy positive and using it in the right area.
And it's been a lot of fun to see. Final thing, Hadley, what is one thing that you best like about this year's version of Horace Hawks of volleyball to get to where you are now and have a chance to keep on winning and keep trying to get a little bit closer to that Saturday night championship match?
Yeah, I think resilience and them wanting to be battled and challenged. Like, there are some practices where I'm like, it's capped. Their minds are elsewhere. They all have a ton of schoolwork to get done and they're tired and exhausted, but they come in wanting to get challenged and wanting to get better and not be satisfied, kind of like their coaching staff. And so that's been fun to see.
Hadley, congratulations on a great year. Best of luck as you get ready for state and against Bismarck Legacy on Thursday night.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
That again, Hadley Plank, head coach of the Horace Hawks, will continue on our YourLiveEvent.com coaches show after this.
Live, work, and play here in Hillsboro, North Dakota. The Hillsboro Economic Development Committee can assist you with information and a support for business and housing. Experience Hillsboro. More at 104.
Head coach Brian Nelson of the Fertile-Beltrami Falcons with us on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show once again this week after the semifinal round win for the Fertile-Beltrami Falcons, and they're off to Prep Bowl 42. Brian, thanks for talking with me for the third week in a row. Yeah, the third week in a row, I think. But let's talk about your semifinal win first against Leroy Ostrander, Lyle Pacelli. The big highlight, or the big question mark, was how do you defend a guy in Mr. Football with Camden Hungerholt, who can throw it, run it, does pretty much everything for that team. And it seemed like for the most part, you guys were able to slow him down. That's always kind of the thing. You're never going to be able to stop a player like that, but slowed him down a little bit.
Yeah, that's what we talked about, was trying to contain him. There's a couple times he got loose in the first half, and he's just a tremendous athlete. I mean, their team was a tremendous team too, and he had a lot of receivers to throw to. They had a great running back, and I thought we did a good job, like, slowing him down. You're never going to stop an athlete like that, and I think it was very, very evident in the second half. I don't think he had too many rushing yards in the second half. He was able to complete some passes, but then in defense of our defense too, he'd only had 2 interceptions all year, and we intercepted him twice, and they were both huge plays. And so I think we did enough to slow him down, give our chance, or give our guys an opportunity to come out of that game with a win.
The one thing following you guys all season long is that defensively, you guys don't let a lot of running backs, quarterbacks, anybody get to the outside. You're always stringing out a play all the way to the boundary, and that seemed like that was a big factor against the Cardinals.
Yeah, it was. The one play he did, and he's a fantastic athlete. He sidestepped one of our guys and stayed in bounds by like 2 inches and took it to the house. I think that was their first score. And other than that, I thought we did a good job of containing him. He still got quite a few yards. I think he was over 100 yards rushing. But he's a tremendous athlete. And I thought our kids, especially in the second half, did a really good job of containing him and making him uncomfortable. And he was throwing even. We were able to get some pressure on the outside after adjusting a little bit. And it was a great game. And we're very fortunate to come out on top.
How about the defensive backs from that game, or your reaction from your DBs? It seemed like he was kind of going to work early through the air, and then it kind of felt like you guys were able to settle in a little bit, especially Steven Sather, who started last game.
Yeah, we're missing Joe Sorensen. Unfortunately, he broke his collarbone in the Cromwell game, the state quarterfinal game. Steven came in and did a fine job. There was a few plays, there was some guys that were pretty wide open that he overthrew, but, we had a bunch of different defenses ready to throw at them. First time we played them, we only had one, and we had to kind of rely on that. We didn't have any different looks, and we threw some different looks at him, and we were going to give some stuff up. And, when you do that, sometimes you give up a score, or sometimes hopefully they overthrow a guy, and, that happened a few times.
Yeah, and that you're going to have that with a team that takes a lot of shots. I know their head coach said they don't like to dink and dunk very much, so we saw a lot of deep passes from that team. And then there was another big play, as I say that Hungerholt almost dropped one in a bucket from about 45 yards, I think it was, into the end zone. And then it was a nice defensive play by Briar Strem to knock a ball free.
Yeah, he had a couple pass defenses, and then, he ended up having a big pick where we got a little pressure, and Hungerholt was just trying to make a play because they were behind, and we were able to pick that one off. And then to kind of close out that game, we went on a 80-yard, I think 13 plays, 7-minute drive. I think we wore them out, and that kind of took the winds out of their sail. We were able to punch one in with Harsted running one in, and there wasn't much time left after we did that.
All right, so a lot of work that was done defensively, but on the offensive side of the ball, a near record-breaking day for Isaiah Wright, and 7 touchdowns, over 300 yards rushing. I thought he was impressive in the quarterfinal game against Cromwell Wright, and he was, but a big day against the Cardinals too.
Yeah, he's just a tremendous athlete, and he'll be the first one to give all the credit to his offensive line, who are doing a great job, not only blocking for him but for Harsted and for Briar Strem as well. And Isaiah just had a great day, and that's the kind of athlete he is. He can do things like that. He had more yards receiving last year than this year, but he is our second leading receiver. He's great catching the ball and running after the play. And it was really nice to see him have just a tremendous game so people could actually see how great of an athlete he is.
Yeah, on the biggest stage at US Bank Stadium, of course. In the second half, you guys really took it to the Cardinals on the ground. It seemed like there was a gap every time you handed the football off. Was there something you guys saw at halftime that led to that, or was it sheerly the Cardinals getting wore down as the game played out?
I think that's what it was. We talked to the guys at halftime, and I'm not saying my guys weren't shot at halftime either. They were pretty tired. We got some water in them and some ice towels on them, cooled them down, and we talked to them, and they said, yeah, they felt like that they were starting to wear down a little bit. So, and that was pretty evident in the second half. And you always get a little bit worried because some of these guys haven't played like a whole game this year. There's a few games where they were in the fourth quarter. Foston, Cromwell, they're probably close to fourth quarter when they were playing. So you worry about if they're in shape enough to go the distance. And, I guess we found out that they were. They did a fine job in the second half.
Well, the last couple of years after the semifinal round, you guys went into the media room after a loss, and answering questions after a loss is tough, and you got to go in there and talk to everybody. But what was that like walking into the media room and able to answer some questions after a victory?
That was great. We haven't had that feeling since 2021 when we won our semifinal game. It's been a couple of years of almost, 2 years ago, lost to Spring Grove. We lost our one running back in the first quarter. Not making excuses, but I think half the team had influenza too, and we ran out of gas in the fourth quarter. And last year, against Kingsland, we came out so flat, we got behind, and then we played pretty much an even Steven game. And just came up, we had chances to maybe tie the score late in the game, but just didn't happen too. But, we're missing Harstead too on that game. And you kind of wonder in back of your mind if we had him, if he would have been the difference or not. Person we put in did a fine job. Just did an excellent job on both sides of the ball. That was Caleb Sather. And, we're just thinking if we had that little more depth with, we could have broke some or given some guys some breaks or something like that. But, and then we got to this year, and it was pretty exciting this year. I'm not going to lie.
2021, let's go back to that year because you guys played Leroy Ostrander in the Prep Bowl, obviously, and then in the semifinal, you're playing your now opponent in the Prep Bowl this year with Hill-Beaver Creek. Same head coach, Rex Metzger, back again. I think it's his 15th year. They've had a lot of success in recent years too. So as you guys go through your game plan and prep, what is the scouting report on the Patriots and what makes them so tough?
Well, it's their system they have there. Coach Metzger's done just a great job. They're always one of the top teams from their section. Taking a look at film, we're impressed with their quarterback. He throws the ball well. He runs their offense really well. They have a stellar running back. They feed him the ball quite a bit. They have a couple great receivers. The other thing we take a real close look at is that O-line up in front of them and the D-line, and very impressed with them. They're just a solid football team. They run their offense really well. Defensively, they're very, very disciplined. And, this is going to be a tough matchup, just like it was in 2021.
Yeah, their quarterback, just looking at some quick numbers, not even watching any film, but a well-balanced player, can run and can throw the football.
Yeah, we've seen, I think in the last game, he did a little more throwing against Mountain Iron Buell. And the game before against Border West, he ran the ball more. So he's a dual threat for sure. We're going to have to kind of game plan, kind of like we did against Hungerholt. And hopefully our guys are ready to perform.
Yeah, and then it's a 10 o'clock kickoff, right? Maybe you go back to the summer days when you had practices at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, but in my opinion, 10 o'clock's a little early to be hitting people. So how do you get your guys ready for the 10 o'clock kickoff? It's obviously the championship, so I said the same thing to Coach Metzger, that if you can't get up for a championship game, you probably shouldn't be playing in it, but it's still 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we plan to practice Thursday morning in the gym. We were very fortunate. The weather outside yesterday was beautiful. So we went outside and practiced till, it got dark, which doesn't take long anymore. Our practice is pretty short. And with the weather now that we have, we're going to be indoors. We were indoors today. We're going to be indoors tomorrow, a little bit earlier. We have an early dismissal, and then we're going to get the kids up and start practice at 6:30 on Thursday morning, because that's the time we plan to get them up on Saturday as well.
Well, for the final time this year, Brian, keys to a victory, what would those be?
We're going to have to contain the quarterback and that running back. Those guys are just phenomenal players. And, we might have to be more patient on offense because they're very disciplined. I don't know if I hope we see these big long runs. But we might have to be satisfied with getting 5-6 yards a crack, getting some good passes in too, which we've been working on. And hopefully, the kids are up, ready to go. And like you said, it's a state championship. They better be. It's just exciting time.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. I appreciate you taking some time to talk with me. Like I said before, I know it's hectic as all heck now, but we're looking forward to Saturday. Should be a lot of fun, and we wish you the best of luck.
Well, thanks, and thanks for the coverage.
Joining us on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, the head coach of the Hills-Beaver Creek Patriots, Rex Metzger, joining us and getting ready for Prep Bowl 42. Coach, you guys are going to get the Fertile-Beltrami Falcons on Saturday morning inside U.S. Bank Stadium. But before we talk about everything on the field, you guys had a nice win against Mountain Iron Buell in the semifinals. But how about the community support around this squad? I know going into the state tournament, the 3 of the last 4 seasons, and it's kind of like the old adage goes, it takes a village, especially in these small communities that we're so proud of.
Yeah, I mean it's been a fun little ride here. Like I said, we've been in the state tournament here. Actually, 4 of the last 5 years are COVID year 2020. We won the section that year and then kind of got cut short. But yeah, there's a lot of buzz around the community and obviously around school and a lot of things going on. But yeah, it's been an exciting road and yeah, we're looking forward to the game Saturday.
Undefeated season so far up to this point, 12-0. What can you tell us about your squad as far as some of who are your top performers and what's been your biggest strengths throughout the course of this year?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a good group of seniors and juniors. Last year we lost in the quarterfinals to Kingsland. We only lost, after that, we had 3 seniors on that team. So obviously coming into this year, we knew we had a lot of guys back. Those guys were only sophomores and juniors last year. So we were looking forward to this year. We knew that we had, the guys in the locker room to be able to make a run. And at the same time, you got to have things, things got to go well for you. Things have to fall in place a little bit here and there, but we knew we had the guys that could make a run, and obviously, we got a balanced group of guys. I feel like we can run the ball, we can throw the ball. We try to stay balanced and hopefully keep the defense on their heels a little bit. Some games we run it a little bit more than others, and sometimes we throw it a little bit more than others. But, we've got Jamin Metzger, the quarterback. He's got a big frame to him, a good arm and makes good decisions with the football. And we lean heavily on our run game with Bo Bakken and Sawyer Bosch, and Jamin running as well. So, and then, on the outside, we have some athletes, that we can get the football to, and Micah Bush and Sawyer Bosch and James Van Bosch and then our tight ends, we can throw it to those guys as well. So we feel like this year that we have a lot of just different guys that we trust and that we can get the football to.
In the semifinals, when you guys beat Mountain Iron Buell, a game that was down to the wire, you guys come up with that big interception late to seal the victory. But, Mountain Iron Buell, the Rangers, they were putting up just a ton of points throughout the course of the season. So when you guys went into game prep for that semifinal game, what were you thinking to try and, keep the points total down and just, take care of business in the semifinals?
Yeah, I mean, they just, coming in, looking at their scores, obviously things have been pretty easy for them. Sometimes it's hard to tell when you don't have common opponents. But you're looking at their roster and watching their game film, they just had some big athletic kids up front. So they had good size up front, and then all of a sudden they just had a lot of good athletes across the board. I think our goal coming into the game was just, we wanted to try to win first and second down. Maybe try to get them feel a little bit uncomfortable, put them in a position maybe that they haven't been before, in some third and longs. And I felt like overall, I just thought that our offense was able to stay on the field long enough just to keep them off the field. I think if you don't control the clock and keep the ball in your offensive hand, they're just so dynamic and they can do so many things that I think that was kind of the key of the game is we were able to control the clock a little bit offensively and keep them off the field.
One thing we always look at in our coverage with Fertile-Beltrami and some of our other teams that we go down to the state tournament with is how much adversity has a team faced throughout the course of a season. You can put up, 50, 60, in some cases 70 points in a certain game, but when you get to the state playoffs, man, it's go time. So when you guys hit adversity throughout, the state playoffs and then from the regular season, how do you feel like you guys handle that?
Yeah, I mean, we had I feel like, since I've been, coaching the last few years, I feel like this is one of our tougher schedules that we had. If you look at some of our scores, they weren't always blowouts. We played Border West in the state quarters, and the first play of the game, they go 60 yards, 70 yards untouched, and we responded to that adversity. So I feel like throughout there's been different events throughout our season that maybe have prepared us to face that adversity. We talk about with our guys all the time. I'd love to call the perfect game, and I'd love to have them have a perfect game, but it just doesn't always happen that way. And we just have to be able to, if we face a little adversity, how are we going to respond to it?
Yeah, and I'm sure that helps having, juniors and seniors on the roster that have been in the very similar position like last year.
Yep, they didn't get rattled. Anytime stuff like that happens, I feel like they lean on each other and trust, that it's a 48-minute game, and one play doesn't make it, and you just got to continue to be your best, and every play's got to be your best play.
All right, well, let's talk about your opponent now in Prep Bowl 42, the Fertile-Beltrami Falcons, who put on quite a show against Leroy Ostrander, Lyle Pacelli with a 60-33 win. And the first name that's jumping off the page and the stat sheet is their senior running back, Isaiah Wright. You look at a performance last week where he scores 7 touchdowns against, one of the best teams in the state. How do you begin to prepare for a kid like that?
Yeah, we're still looking for that game plan. So I don't know if there's any coaches up north that can send us one. No, he's just a dynamic player, obviously Fertile-Beltrami is just well coached, he's been there for a long time and has had successful programs, so he's got a well-oiled machine with the things that he does. Obviously, coaching that long. So, he's such a good player, and obviously 7 touchdowns last game. Hopefully we can find a way to slow him down and not let him have those big plays.
The other thing too that we talk about with Fertile-Beltrami is they've got the stud running back, right? But they're also balanced in other areas with Jonah Harstead, another running back, and their wide receiver Briar Strem. So it's kind of like you talk about one player that you probably will just try to slow him down rather than stop him, but also wanting to make sure those other players don't beat you.
Yeah, and I think everybody that's played Fertile-Beltrami knows this, that it's not just a one-headed monster. I think they have just nice players across the board, with their tight ends and their receiver and those couple backs. Obviously they're balanced as well, and you can't just key on one guy. And like I said earlier, they just, it's a well-oiled machine and they do a lot of things well, and they can move the ball around to different guys as well.
How much game film have you watched from the 2021 semifinal when you played Fertile-Beltrami?
Yeah, I think it's the same programs. I've been here and Brian's been there, but I think we do a little bit things differently than we did in 2021. I know offensively they do things, they have some similarities, but they do things differently. Same with us, obviously you coach to your athletes and obviously they're doing the same thing this year compared to 2021, but you can see some things and it's not completely different styles. So, we went back and watched, that game and kind of saw, what they like to do and what we were trying to do and try to, if we can grab a few things from that game, to help us as well.
A couple of final thoughts for you, Coach. First game of the day at US Bank Stadium, 10 a.m. kickoff. And obviously, if you can't get up for the state championship, there's something wrong with you, right? But 10 a.m. is really early. So how do you get the guys going right away to make sure they're ready to hit somebody?
Yeah, it's just a little bit different. In 2021, we played each other and we played at 9 a.m. So, just that 1 hour kind of makes a difference of not getting up quite so early in the morning. But yeah, I mean, it's an early game, but it's the same for both of us. And hopefully we can prepare and be ready to go at 10 a.m.
Yeah, in a couple of words, what would your keys to the game be on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, we got to limit some big plays to their run game and to their pass game. They play action really well off of that as well. So, obviously we're going to have to limit some of their big plays and hopefully we can attack them and try to do a few things that maybe they haven't seen before. And just, the big thing is just limit their big plays, I would say, and try to control the clock, a lot like we did against Mountain Iron Buell. Fertile-Beltrami's got nice size up front too, just like Fertile-Beltrami. So we know it's going to be it's going to be a tough football game.
Hey, sounds good, Coach. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. I know it's crazy this time of year, especially in the state playoffs, so I appreciate you sharing the time with me. And we're looking forward to the game on Saturday. Should be a lot of fun. Good luck.
Yep. Thanks for covering us. Thank you.
There's more at 104. Hillsboro, North Dakota has everything you need on your next road trip. Food, fuel, fun, and family-friendly activities. Stop by and fill up your tank or grab a bite to eat. Have a blast at Goose River Golf Club, the swimming pool, or one of our beautiful parks. There's even ice skating and cross-country skiing. Take in the sights or stay the night so you don't miss a thing. Experience Hillsboro and see why there's more at 104.
Parenting is hard for all of us. And so providing those little resources that we can share for those conversations that are hard to have and to kind of be that icebreaker for both professionals, parents, and then open up that conversation to the more engaging conversation that's needing to be had.
Being a parent myself, oftentimes it's the simple things that make a difference.
As a busy parent myself, just engaging with your kids, making it an everyday thing so they know that you're there, they can always come to you when those difficult situations do arise.
Contact Trail District Health Unit in Hillsboro for more information.
Sharing our heritage, sharing our future. Choosing the right bank for your financial needs can be challenging with the many choices available. Dakota Heritage Bank is pleased you're interested in knowing more about what they can do for you. The Dakota Heritage Bank community bank setting is a strong advantage they have over larger, less personal banks. Customers are more than account numbers, they are friends and neighbors. Working together, Dakota Heritage Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
On the Coaches Show here this week, we're making the transition from fall sports over to winter sports. Here on the Coaches Show, and we're chatting Hillsboro-Central Valley Wrestling with the head coach and Rob Owens. And Rob, pretty special year last year, especially on the boys' side, especially for you personally, with Sawyer taking the title at 133. Just your thoughts on the finish you guys had last year, propelling you to 2024-25.
It was a good year. We had a lot of goals, and for Sawyer, he hit his goals. He still has a lot of goals for this year too. It's going to be a nice year this year. We have pretty much everybody back. We only lost one senior, so we should have some good kids. The only issue we're going to see is making sure we get down to weights so where everybody can fill that lineup for us. But again, we have 4 state, placers that are in our roster. We got a state champ. We got 2 7s and an 8th placer. So there's a lot of hunger still left in the room, and hopefully we can turn that into improvement and maybe pick up a 1 or 2 more to make place this year as well.
You talked about some of the individuals. I'll talk about them a little bit later on here. But I feel like you guys really took a step forward last year. Of course, it's the key is trying to find somebody in every single weight class, and that's extremely hard to do for a Class B school. And you guys had your challenges yourselves last year, but there were moments where you guys nearly had it to have that full roster.
Yeah, we're going to be close again. I mean, 107 will be the hardest one for us. We just don't have any little guys. We did pick up 3 7th graders this year, which is 2 more than I thought. So we have some potential coming out of that class. We don't have a 9th grader at all this year, which is unfortunate, but we have a good solid group of 8th graders. Our 10th grade group they keep growing. They get a little bit more every so often. And then our junior class is kind of where our meat is at. And then we have 2 seniors this year that hopefully they can and do what they need to do to show and stay with this program and work hard. And so we got a lot of potential, like I said earlier, to really fill. And if everything goes right, we should have a full roster at after Christmas. So hopefully we can, or you never know. There might be the unicorn out there that shows up in the room and it's like, oh, I didn't know we even had you walking around. So it happens every so often.
Let's talk about some more of those returning individuals from state last year. Of course, we started out talking about Sawyer, again, the champion at 133. When you get older in wrestling, usually that means you move up a class, but sometimes, depending upon the weight, you can stay consistent. So where do you think he'll be at this year?
I think he's, right now, I see him every morning, and he weighs in about 43, 44. So I see him at 45 in the early part of the season, possibly 39. And who knows? He's so much stronger this year than he was last year. He suffered an ankle injury in football, and that was questionable. It wasn't a fun experience for any of us. But he is recovered. He can do pretty much everything that he needs to do for practice. It's amazing how fast the recovery has happened, but he works hard, and he'll go in by himself, do a lot of stuff that he needs to do just to get his mindset. And so that's been nice to have him back in the room, and he didn't lose anything. So that's a big plus. And then we have Carson, and Carson, he took 5th 2 years ago, took 7th last year. He was really close in a lot of his matches he could have been a 3rd. He could have even won the thing. It's one of those things that, it's all about it could have. And Carson's just got to turn that page, turn that corner, and take that what has to make sure's and make those gains that make him, hit the top part of the podium. He has it in him to do it. And he's going to be a little heavier this year. I think he's looking at 45. They're all growing. So that's a big plus. They're all getting a little stronger. They're all getting a little bit taller. And so that helps. Braden Chenault took 7th as well. Another junior. Braden looking strong. He's, always got this, he doesn't look as like he should wrestle all the time, but he's got an amazing environment. He's got good mat presence. He's a smart kid and a smart wrestler. So that helps tremendously. He's right around 200 pounds right now. He's looking at 195-ish, somewhere in there. We have hydration tests on Thursday, so we'll know a little bit more then. And Justin Terrell took 8th last year, first time placing, beat a kid in the first round that he hadn't beat all year. It really put him on the path to placing and making that podium. He is always the wild card because he has 2 sides. He has Justin, nice kid, and Justin, I'm going to kick everybody's butt kid. And it's hard for him right now because what we have is, we have a bunch of kids in that 35 to, or that 38 to about 52 region. And then Justin's below that. So he does, get to wrestle with a bunch of boys that are bigger than him. So he takes a lot of beatings in practice. But I think in the end, when he gets to wrestle a kid his own size, he'll be just so much faster and so much stronger for that fact. And then, so those are our placers from last year. And Ben Thompson would be the next kid who would have been. He was on the blood round. He made it there, and he looks good. He went to a lot of camps. He's, put some time in. He's just got to keep his, grades up and keep everything good. in Golden, and we'll see him coming out and probably in that 52 to 60 region area for that. Then we had Xander Dovemiller, who also made it to state last year. Again, all kind of in that 60s to zone. So Xander just has to find his place and keep being him. He's always the kid who kind of slips in when no one's watching and takes advantage of the situation. So those are the guys that made it to state last year. We have a lot of young kids who are in the lower weights that have potential, that just kind of started last year. Jackson Kleckner, he looks amazing compared to where he was last year. He is making big gains, and so that's going to be a plus for us. Coy Haas, who never really wrestled for us last year, but came to practice. He's about 220 pounds. Probably will be our heavyweight this year. He's got some nice heavy hands. He came to a lot of open mats. Wanted to really focus on wrestling this year. So hopefully we get to see how he can do against the competition in the state. And so we got some kids out there. We got a new kid, Brody Pelton, who is brand new 8th grader, never really wrestled before, but he looks like a wrestler. He moves like a wrestler, and he'll probably be our probably our 109 pounder, 107 pounder when we get to the, after Christmas part of the season. And, there's a lot of kids we have, that are out there that could make some big gains, because there's some holes that can be filled since we have a lot of kids in that 50 to 60 range. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll know more by Thursday, because we'll have our hydrations. So.
Of course, good to note on the boys' side, and of course, girls wrestling continues to pick up steam and bring more and more athletes, and we're adding that, and I shouldn't say adding that program, but continuing to cement that program as its own program at Hillsboro-Central Valley. Some challenges with the coaching staff and all that, trying to find the right personnel to match, I believe, the 6 ladies that are going to go out this year, but biggest Hillsboro-Central Valley girls wrestling team in their history.
Yeah, we have, it's 6 on paper. I think we have 5 right now, but that have been showing up for practice each time. We got 2 new girls, which is always a plus. This year we kind of thought we had a coach, and then we kind of dragged our heels on making sure that the school, had the funds to pay for the coach, and it kind of backfired, because then the guy who was going to do it got a little busy, and totally understand. He's got a young family, and it's tough. But Trevor Kittleson's going to step in and run some practices for us. When the girls aren't with him, they come back to the Heck, and then they go and wrestle with us. And then Seth, my son, Seth Owens, is going to take them on the weekends and coach them as well. So it's kind of like we have a coach between 3 or 4 of the coaches. My assistant coach, Sam Rieger, is helping as well. So we are trying to do our best with the situation we have. Yes, it would be great if we had a person that would be just the full-time girls coach, and I could see big gains. I have always been a big proponent for girls wrestling. I felt like it only grows if they're by themselves, to where girls don't feel like they have to wrestle in front of the boys. It's a lot of pressure, especially since the boys have been doing it for a lot longer. But we have a lot of good kids coming up in the little kids section that I think on the girls' side are going to make some big waves, and it's going to be fun to watch. But we have to put time in and invest in it and make sure that they're getting their fair chance to do what they need to do. And, it's funny. We have Crystal, who's made it to state. She's qualified for state. She's got big goals. She finally went to her first camp out there, outside of the Hillsboro camp, which means she's dedicating. She's worked at the golf course this year. She's gotten stronger. She's more physical, and, she's going to have the potential to, maybe make that podium this year if she keeps working as hard as she is. Then we have Gabby, and then Gabrielle McNamara. We have Emily Smith, who have been in there, and their goals are to make it to state. And that's a great goal for both of them. They're still young. They're 8th graders and 9th graders. Our girls are relatively young. Crystal's the oldest one in our group. So then we have Amelia Adams is new from Central Valley, and then Kira Kazette is also new, and they're 9th graders and 8th graders again. So we have like some potential groups of girls coming through, and usually when one gets success, then the other girls will follow. So hopefully in the future we have a full schedule and a full team to where we can go out and do some of these duels and do some of the things that the public can see, and then broaden that idea of what girls wrestling is in Hillsboro.
You mentioned the duels, the things the public can see, and they get a great opportunity on a Tuesday with the, I believe, the home and season opener against Grand Forks Central.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, it's a nice little starter match. Central's got a good, solid team, and we've got a good, solid team. It should be competitive, and I've known the guys up at Central forever, so they've always do good quality stuff. And so they've got some high point kids on their team, and they'll match up nicely with our kids as well. So it'll be a good event, and it's a nice, quick event. And then we have our opener or not our opener, but a week later we have our tournament, and we have 12 teams coming, and we're guaranteed 4 duels. So, I mean, we're going to see some competition. And so then a lot of I think the Grand Forks Central match is the only one that is just a duel. Everything else is tries and quads. And so the boys are going to see a lot of wrestling, which is good. We need to make sure we can wrestle. We're going to see kids that, that are new and different and give us different ideas and styles we can adapt to. It's nice to have good quality kids in the room, but you wrestle the same kid, you know what they're going to do, and you don't get as much growth. So we try to bring as many kids as we can. So we have, like, even in this year, we've got Blaze Ranky coming in from UND, is coming in and wrestling with us. So he was a state champ from last year for Lisbon. And so he's helping us. I mean, and that's the big thing. Anybody who can come in and wrestle around with our boys or our girls is helping us get better. And that's what we want to foster.
Girls, I believe, start their season, I think, the same night up at Red River, and kind of talk about their schedule.
Well, they're going to be, it's going to be kind of, I think they have 8 or 9 events. They're going to be on that Tuesday next week. They're going to be at Red River. They're guaranteed 2 matches. And it's kind of like a piece them together, try to make the best of everything. And you're going to see that still in, this area a lot. In the western part of the state, a lot of those girls teams have cemented into full teams already. They have 14, 15 girls on their team, 6, maybe even 20 girls. And in the east, we have, Central Cass has got a full team. The Knight Rider team is full-ish. They're not all there yet. So we want to make sure that the Class B side of it, which isn't, there's no Class A or Class B. It's all one class in girls. So it's unfortunate that in that way that, for Fargo, they're pulling from all the Fargo schools. Grand Forks, they're pulling from the Grand Forks schools, so they have a broader base to pull these girls from, and it'd be interesting if we could consolidate a few girls teams in this area to make a better team, and maybe we're going to see that more often if we see that there's growth, but we just don't have numbers to fill, because duels are where people see, the crowd, the fans see, these girls compete. And now that we've separated the girls and the boys, you're not going to see the girls wrestle before the boys matches anymore. So it's going to be, they're not as visible anymore. They're kind of snuck away to the one side, but they're there. They're just wrestling a whole different schedule. It's kind of equivalent of having, if they had a full duels team, we could actually have like the similar what they do with the girls and boys basketball, where they would have a double header, where we could have a double header as well. And hopefully in the future we have a full girls roster. We just need to get a few more girls out to do that.
Rob, as we get started here with 24-25 wrestling, anything else you want to mention here in the coaches show?
Just appreciate you guys. It's going to be a fun year, and keep looking at social media, keep with us, come watch the events, make sure that you're part of this. It's going to be a fun year, and then it's just going to build and build. So hopefully you're going to see, HCB wrestling on the map a little bit more this year, and then keep building until next year. It's going to be an interesting year.
It sure will. As Rob mentioned, they open up the season boys side at home against Central. We'll have that duel on your live event. We also have of course, the home duel tournament the week after on your live event as well. Rob Owens, Hillsboro-Central Valley wrestling coach, joining us on the coaches show. Rob, thanks for the time. Happy wrestling.
Thank you.
Join us here from the Horace Hawks, part of our senior spotlight this week. As yes, I know there's snow on the ground, but baseball will be here sooner rather than later. That is Espen Westby with us here. And Espen, just first things first, let's talk about your commitment to Bismarck State College. Just kind of take us through the process and what it means to be playing at the next level for you, going from high school in the spring to eventually in the fall, you'll be getting into the college ranks.
I mean, it means a lot to me. I mean, I've worked pretty hard for this over the last few years. College baseball is always something I've wanted to play. Baseball's always been that thing I could rely on to just kind of find happiness and be the thing that I look forward to every year. So it's been pretty nice to know that now I can play it more year round and not just in the spring. And I enjoy playing with my teammates, and I hope to have the same thing at Bismarck.
Just take us through what made Bismarck State College. As I know, before we got going, I was asking you, hey, the transition process from, JUCO to 4 years. Obviously, you got your criminal justice major as well studying, but what just made Bismarck and Bismarck State College just be the right fit for you here, Espen?
Well, I had talked to a few other places, but I ended up taking my visit to Bismarck, and just like the environment I felt, it just looked like everyone was pretty happy and close, and that's kind of what I looked for, because I mean, I'm going to be spending 4 years there, hopefully. So I wanted something that would make me happy, and just walking around, all the students seemed happy, seemed close. I mean, you can't always believe everything you see on social media, but like I've looked at their social media a little bit, and they do a lot of fun events too. And that's something that's like, hey, if something's not going on with baseball, I can still find something to do compared to some of the other colleges in North Dakota.
Take us through a Horace program. 2 years ago, there was a handful of wins. Last year, you're able to make it to state for the first time. A very youthful team, obviously, just in terms of it hasn't been around that much, and that's been the growing theme here with football, with basketball, with volleyball, and everything else has been. But just take us through what the year was like last year, making it to state for the first time in program history.
I mean, we came into last year just hoping to build on last year, or the year before. I mean, obviously our first year, just being so young. I mean, we didn't have any seniors. We only had 1 or 2 juniors, depending on the time of the year. So we were just hoping to build off that, and we did really good on building off that. I mean, we had a couple of guys, Borkart, Jet Collins, Caden Rademacher. I mean, a lot of our teammates, Cooper Fuchs, stepped up huge for us, and that was a big key to our success. I mean, another thing is we have Quinn Irie. He's a great coach, and I mean, he helps build us all together, and he's very focused on, hey, it's not like coaches don't control things. They kind of let the players like decide, hey, this is what we need to work on and build together. And I mean, all of us, we hang out outside of baseball too. It's a great team to be a part of.
I know there's a number of things with baseball, right? You got your school ball, you got travel ball. Then as you get older, you kind of get into Babe Ruth and Legion and everything. So for someone who's kind of getting into the system that's 12, 13 years old, Espen, what's the words of advice if someone wants to be where you are, right? As a senior making their way to the college level, having that opportunity. Just take us through some experiences for yourself, but words of advice for that next generation coming up.
I mean, I started off a little slow. I didn't start playing travel ball till 12, and I know you can start at 9, I'm pretty sure it is in North Dakota. So, I mean, I didn't start playing travel ball till 12. So, I mean, key thing to me is like, hey, you're still so young. Just keep building, and if you keep working, eventually you'll reach the point you want. Because I know 11U, I tried out for Fargo baseball. I got cut, and so the next year I was actually at the ball yard working. And then I did some camps with some West Fargo baseball players. Trey Hussar just committed to SDSU. And then Evan Krogan, I was doing a camp with him. He was a teammate now. And I mean, they told me, hey, you got to come play for West Fargo. I did. That's one of my favorite seasons I ever played. I mean, I was one of the best hitters in the state. But I mean, it really took off from there. And then, I mean, you really just have to look at always making sure you're putting in the work. I mean, there hasn't been an off season where you always have to be putting in the work, and don't think that just because you get cut one year that you can't make it the next year, because everyone's going to keep getting better, and who says that you can't get better along with them.
What's something that baseball, Espen, has just kind of brought you and your family, or you in particular, what do you enjoy most about the sport, whether it's on the field, off the field, just everything in between that comes with baseball?
I mean, I kind of like the hidden beauty to it almost. I mean, everyone kind of says, well, oh, baseball's boring to watch. And I mean, yeah, it is. Maybe if you don't understand it. I mean, yeah, there's not much to it. You're kind of sitting there a lot, but there's a hidden beauty to it. And as like a catcher, I see it a lot differently, because you have to look at every pitch call. You have to know the certain plays that we're running and make sure everyone gets their spot. And just making sure everyone's there where they need to be. But yeah,
Let's
that's the biggest key.
let's talk about catcher, because sometimes you find catcher or the catcher finds you because no one else wants to catch, so to speak. So how did that story evolve for you to become a catcher? Because in baseball and softball, everyone has their own journey to that particular spot, particularly.
Yeah, growing up 9 through 11, I played on a league ball team, and so 9 to 11, I mean, we didn't have much for catchers playing league, so I kind of decided, hey, I'll catch a little bit. I played shortstop then too and pitcher. I was mixed around in those spots, but then as I got older, catcher kind of went. It was always a position where I knew I could play defense a little bit better than everyone else. And then 12U, I split it with one of my teammates, Thomas Newman, who went on to go at Jamestown. He's playing with Jamestown now. So then he left our 13U year, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to step up as like the main catcher and just make this kind of my home for the next foreseeable future. And then 14U, it was really me as a catcher, and so I was catching a lot, and I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. I mean, I don't have to go play shortstop and hope a ground ball comes to me. I'm right here, and I can play every play.
When we take a look at just your favorite sports memory of all time, Espen, whether it's baseball or a different sport, whether it's you playing, maybe it's with family and friends, what's one or two sports memories that kind of come to mind or jump off the page?
Um, First one to me is just being able to be part of the 2024 Patriots this last summer. I mean, hitting a walk-off home run to beat your rivals in state. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. That was one of my favorite moments I've ever been a part of. Just gave me goosebumps. I was down in the bullpen and I had to run 300 feet all the way to get to home plate to celebrate. I was gassed after, but I wanted to make it for that celebration. And then I would say the other best moment I've had was 14U winning state as well. Those were my best friends growing up, and then in 14U it's kind of the last year where you're all on the same team getting to play together before you go play school ball, and you get mixed up with different age levels. But 14U just winning it our last year out in Dickinson, it was an amazing feeling just knowing, hey, we're going out on top.
Any superstitions when it comes to baseball? Baseball is a superstitious sport, but do you have anything you have to do before you get to that very first pitch of a baseball game?
Um, I like to show up like an hour before everyone else does, just so I can have my own time to just kind of lock in and just kind of mentally prepare for the day. And then it's kind of weird, but when I'm walking up to the plate, I'll sing like the song Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield in my head, because it's just kind of a fun song that just keeps me loose.
That's a pretty good one. I think that's the first one that we've heard for a while in terms of superstitions. But to go from there to just the schoolwork, what's something in school, a subject or an area that you really enjoy studying? Obviously, you mentioned about, going into a little bit more of that criminal justice for studying once you get to college. But what's a class or two that you enjoyed most, Espen, so far, at high school?
I mean, if we're gonna count gym class, those have always been the classes I've enjoyed the most. But outside of that, I did take a genocide class, and that was just kind of cool to like see the different elements of everything around the world, and just like, I mean, it was sad, obviously, but it was just kind of some cool things to understand and understand about life and what's happened in the history of the world.
And speaking about life, the last couple of weeks been pretty fun to be a Horace Hawk, obviously, not just going back from what the winter was where the girls make it to state in basketball for the first time. You add that as well with, baseball, seeing what football was able to do in the first state championship, volleyball making it to state this week as well, first time in program history. What's cooking? What's in the oven that's making the athletics so good over at Horace here, Espen?
I think it's honestly just like the community. I mean, all the athletes, we'll nudge each other, always saying, no, this sport's better, this sport's better. And I think it always just makes us want to come out and play. And then we're just young. I mean, we didn't really have to sit behind upperclassmen to earn playing time. It was, hey, if you're a freshman and you're good, you're playing right away, and you're gonna figure out what varsity is like. And that's just kind of made everyone better, I would say.
From your coaches, whether it's Quinn Irie with the Horace Hawks to what you've been able to, and the coaches that you've been with in Legion baseball as well, what's something that you've kind of learned from them that you hope to take with you once you get to college?
Just learning that baseball, you're not gonna succeed every time. I mean, I've always had a problem of, hey, I want to get a hit every single time I want to get up to the plate, or I never want to make an error. But like reality is, it's baseball. You're gonna fail 7 out of 10 times. Like, you just need to be able to accept it, move on. and just learn to shake it off and still help your teammates. Because if you're helping your teammates, you're helping your team win.
Hey, Espen, thanks so much for your time. Congratulations again on your commitment and best of luck once the snow does thaw out here in a couple months, once you get on that baseball field.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
That again does it for our YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Join us again next Wednesday, a week from tonight, as we get you ready for Thanksgiving, but also put a bow officially on all the fall athletics in North Dakota and Minnesota, and really get you prepped for hockey to wrestling to basketball, that and more as well up and down the Red River Valley. Again, I'm Chase Miller. Thanks so much for joining us as part of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, presented to you by the Hillsboro Economic Development Corporation. Join us next Wednesday at 7 o'clock as we put a bow on the fall and get you ready for the winter on YourLiveEvent.com.